Welcome back to City Scene. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we have some very special guests to spend some time with now. All residents of Camarillo, and we have Charles Pierce, who, as noted, spent 6 years in Nazi concentration camps during World War II, including Dachau and Auschwitz. And with him this evening to help him tell the story of his experiences, his wife of 56 years, Libby, and their son, Mark, who is retired in Camarillo and now spends his time helping his parents travel and tell the story that certainly should not be forgotten. And they have been Camarillo residents since 1993, correct? Correct. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
So Charles, let's begin with you. Can you tell us the specific years that you were in a concentration camp and sort of what led up to that?
Well, the war broke out in September of 1939, September 1st, World War II. And I was at home with my parents yet. I graduated from high school.
And this was in Poland?
Just in Poland, just a little bit before that. And when the Nazis came in, they stopped everything. I couldn't go to school. I stayed with my parents for a little bit because my father had a nice business in Poland, and I had tried to help out. And it didn't take long, and they took the business away, moved it to another street, put in a German control of it, and I was right away sent to work, forced labor. I worked in a stone quarry in the city where I lived.
And so you remained in Poland during this time?
In Poland, right. The name of the city is Kielce, K-I-E-L-C-E, and the name of the quarry, I have to spell it out, Kadzielnia in Polish.
I can spell that.
That's all right.
Yeah. And I worked there with my younger brother, which was at home yet, my younger than me. And then, after a while, they stopped us from going there, and they locked us up again, and they put us in a ghetto in Kielce. And they brought us to the synagogue there, about 600 of us, young men, kept us in the synagogue for 3 days with no facilities, no bathrooms, no water, and it was unbelievable.
How many people did they?
It was 600 in that synagogue.
Oh, man.
And what period of time was this? How long?
That period of time was a few weeks, and then they decided to send us out to different camps from there. Me and my 2 brothers was sent to a camp near the Russian border. The city is called Mirce, M-I-R-C-Z-E. The reason they sent us out because they were planning to invade Russia then, and the roads were very bad condition, so they tried to build up the roads, and they got free labor or cheap labor from us, which they didn't pay us anything, and we tried to fix the roads. I was at that time in a barn, like in a farm place. That's what they kept us, in a barn with cows and pigs in it. That was the camp. The food was very bad, but we befriended a nice lady that the barn belonged to her. Her name was Anna Kowalska. I guess she was Ukrainian, and she tried to feed us with homemade food that she cooked for herself and her family. And that built us up a little bit. We were there for a little bit, and then my sister-in-law, my older brother's wife, which was married, somehow got us out of there, and we went to go back to our city, to our parents. Parents were still alive. me and my younger brother that were there developed typhoid fever and in that barn because
Right.
we came across lice and all kinds of bugs and everything. And luckily, the hospital in the city was still there, which was a nice Jewish hospital. The nurses were excellent, and they brought us back to help, me and my younger brother. And we went back to the ghetto. The ghetto was very bad because it was watched also by the SS troops and Gestapo and Ukrainian and Polish police. You couldn't get out. The only time you could get out is when they let you have a permit to go to work or and come back to it. And this went on until 1942. 1942, they decided to liquidate the ghetto. They came up with lies, all lies, that the people from the ghetto are going to be sent to the Russian border, and they're going to be exchanged for the German prisoners that the Russians are holding.
Wow.
So, and that was big lies because they sent these people to be killed. The concentration camps that they were built just before the Nazis came in Poland. I can have three of the biggest ones. I can give the names: Belzec, Cieszanów, and Majdanek. And they were just death camps, not just concentration camps, but death camps. They killed the people right there, doing experiments and everything else. This was all planned beforehand. They had spies all over. As a matter of fact, they had spies. They sent the Nazi troops to Africa under the direction of the desert fox, Rommel. That was his name, Rommel. They had no business to go to Africa because this wasn't a war of a territorial war of territory. This was just to destroy the whole world. And then, after they liquidated the ghetto, me and my younger brother remained in the city. My older brother, this third one in row, was married, and he decided to go with his wife. He didn't want to stay in the city to go to work, and he went with his wife. And they were sent with my parents to the death camp Treblinka, which is in Poland. And that was prepared before even the war, all these things. They had spies. They even had German Jew spies. As a matter of fact, two of them came to our house with the Gestapo at the beginning of the war.
Really?
And I have the names of them. One was Singer, and the other one was Schlesinger.
You have an amazing memory, don't you?
It's amazing how he
unbelievable.
remembers.
And we should probably tell our viewers, too, that Charles is going to be 91 later this year.
Yes.
It's amazing,
And I'm holding Charles' book, The
which
Art
is
of
also a
Survival.
riveting story.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but just bring
It's
this
okay.
up. And I just want to ask quick, Libby, did you encourage Charles to write this, or was it?
Actually, it was written through Mark. Mark met a man who read part of our story, and that's Jack Marlando. And he said that would make a wonderful book.
Indeed.
And it
And
did.
he's our ghostwriter and our very good friend now. And he sent questions to us on the computer, and we would answer the questions. And that's how the book got to be written.
And so, Charles, for you, I think I understand that it was many years before you were even able to talk about this. And at what point did you open up?
We'll let Mark tell about that.
About 5 years ago, my daughter Lindsay was in Camarillo High School, and they were talking about the Holocaust. And Miss Jeannie Nelson asked, she was a teacher there, she asked if any of the students knew anything about the Holocaust, and she raised her hand and said, my grandfather was in the Holocaust. And she asked Lindsay to ask my dad if he would come speak about it. To that point, he never really spoke about it openly. I mean, we heard bits and pieces through the years, but very little.
Wow.
And of course, you knew the history, though. You had known the basics that he had spent 6 years.
Of course. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're just the basics. Never any details like what's in the book. And so, when he was 85 years old, was really the first time that he opened up to speak about the Holocaust at Camarillo High School. And he used to just talk like he's talking to you guys, you know, off the cuff, but it's tough, you know, you get in front of an audience and it's not an easy thing to do. Right. So I told him if he would write down his story, I would read it for him, and then he could just answer questions at the end to make it a little easier. And so that's what we do now. We go around and try to educate high school students. We also go to colleges. We've been to the naval base, the rescue mission, just trying to lift some people's spirits. And
that works well with you telling the story and Charles to answer the questions and you for support. And
well, she tells, you know, in the second half of the book, as you said, you read the book, you know, it's the love story.
It is the love
my
story,
parents.
yes.
And it's like the ultimate love story. And so my mom, you know, can really tell that part of the story better than anybody. You know, it really lightens up the mood when we're in the classroom, because after hearing the story, it's kind of tough to. It's real somber there. You know,
It's
there's
tough,
a lot of tears running.
It's something that needs to be told, though.
Right.
It needs to be spread, because we have teenage kids ourselves,
Sure.
and you know, it's a fast-paced world now. They don't always pay enough attention to what's going on beforehand.
But what it shows is that you can go through something like that. I mean, when my dad was rescued by the American Army, he weighed 60 pounds. I mean, you don't get any closer to death than that.
I know.
And now to make a life of the way he did, and to raise us the way he did, and not have any prejudice in his bones, and never, you know, tell us anything. Like I said, 5 years ago, we finally started hearing some stories, but kept it all bottled up and
Remarkable.
Never anything negative. That's what the story is almost more important. I mean, the history, of course, is very important, but that you can come, you know, move ahead with your life, and so that's why we go around, and people that think they're having a tough day or a tough year hear his story and
get some perspective.
Yes.
We have some images that we can bring up, and Charles and Libby and Mark. Now this is again is the book, The Art of Survival.
This is the book. We published it last year.
Who's that good-looking guy?
That's the man I fell in love with. He was a blind date. And when he came to the door and I saw that face,
So she's meeting Clark Gable.
better than Clark Gable. That was in person.
And you two have been married for 56 years?
There you go. Wow.
Their wedding
June
picture.
13th we were married, 1954. And that's at the rescue mission.
Okay.
We got lots of hugs and kisses, and they couldn't wait to shake our hand
bet.
and thank us for telling our story.
We've got some great.
There's a lot of
Photos here,
good
too,
photos
up
in
in
the
front.
book as well.
Yes.
We only just saw a few there, but there's some good pictures in here
An
too.
envelope here too in the drum.
Yeah, I
So,
gave them some.
again,
And Charles' parents are here too. But
And again, Charles, so tell us, it was towards the end of the war, and it was
Well, I traveled from one camp to another camp.
right.
I couldn't ask anything where I'm going and what I'm going to do, just like throwing me from one camp to another camp. And I didn't know what's going to happen at all. My body was already down, like shot.
Man.
I didn't know anything about a pill or a doctor or a checkup or a blood test or anything.